Okay, no, that's fine. Because we were going to, or I was going to, which I haven't done, look for a different place to put it.
That's right, because you upset Google, haven't you, and now on the blacklist or something. So
yeah. And the one that
do you lose sleep over that at all? Like, has it affected your sleep pattern? And
say again?
do you lose sleep over that? Like, are you worried that to the extent that you can't sleep properly at night time?
No? Worried about what?
Receiving a warning from Google.
Oh no, not at all. Not
sure you don't lie awake at night staring at the ceiling thinking, "Oh no, what am I going to do?" No.
No, it's interesting that you say that, because yesterday I received an email from a person that that I sort of knew, that somehow I knew them, but I didn't know who the hell it was. Okay, but it was familiar, and talking about. She had extracted some stuff from a website and would just put it in an email and sent it to a whole lot of people. And I just happened to be on that list of hers. Okay.
Yeah.
And anyway, I did some research, and I replied to the email saying, where did you get this information from, and so on. And anyway, eventually this morning, I read her reply, and I remembered her husband was the garage mechanic that used to work on my Mercedes in South Africa.
Oh, there you go.
and I remember her sending me an email like this, and I remember waiting for my car on numerous occasions, sitting at reception. She was the receptionist, although she was the wife, and I would sit and chat to her about things that you don't normally chat to people about, And but anyway, I'm telling you this long story because I asked her, the one I haven't heard about QAnon for a long time. Okay. Is it still around? I don't know what to call it, but the posting's still around. And she said, "Oh yes, very much so." So I thought, okay, and you can check this as well, because I then asked ChatGPT, who is QAnon? Okay, and I also asked Bart as well, and you got no idea. I'd never had such an emotional response from an AI.
Oh, really?
Absolute conspiracy theories, rubbish. It's a Trump hideout or something. And yeah. And so I replied to chat. I said, please, I didn't want your opinion. I want to create my own opinion. I just want an objective answer to my question. Who is QAnon? I don't want your opinion about QAnon. And so he apologized, he apologized and came back, but still couldn't get away from it. Still ran the whole procedure down. So anyway, I don't know if you still see any, but obviously Google and all the Microsoft and everybody else have obviously cleared that sort of totally away. They blocked every possible thinking about YouTube and what YouTube blocks. It's just amazing. I mean, that it's just gone off my radar altogether. And what about you?
I haven't, as you say, I haven't seen it for a long time. I hadn't even thought about it. But yeah, no, I can't recall seeing anything about it. goodness, I don't know for how long.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Mm.
you know, I'm not even in my alternative type sites that I go to, like the Edge of Wonder and so on. Have they brought anything up? I actually sent them an email this morning as well, saying, you know, what's happened to QAnon? Okay, because I see on the news that Trump has been banned from participating in next year's elections in one of the states.
Yeah.
That's codswallop. It's absolutely a lot of rubbish, and I'm glad they're going to the Supreme Court and get this sorted. Because I think my opinion is Trump is going to be the savior of America. If not, they're in for a dive.
They've certainly got a few challenges over in that neck of the woods, haven't they? So
absolutely. You know, and I listened to like the project on radio on TV7 here, and they also like just mock Trump. Okay, and they had a discussion, I think the night before last, about you know, Trump's wall to stop immigrants coming in and so on. And they were just, no, you know, what's wrong with a multiculture? You know, Australia, they would say, is a multiculture. And they just missed the point altogether. People don't arrive and have never arrived in Australia without going through the correct visa channels.
Yeah.
Well, they just walk on their masses. You must see the pictures. En masse, they just walking across the border.
Yeah, well, that's one of the unique factors about living on an island, isn't it? The only way to get to it is by air or by sea, you know? So.
Yeah. And the people who come by sea land up in a camp. Okay.
Yeah, or even if they do make landfall, it's usually in the most hostile environments around, you know. So
yeah.
But anyway, that's there's a lot of I don't know, a lot of anger in the community at the moment, isn't there? You know, so
yeah. But you know, according to this email I told you about at the beginning, one of the things she said that not QAnon, but something 9. I don't know what it is. I hadn't heard of it. Is it Channel? No, not Channel 9. That would be a TV station. But this comes anyway. It was the 9 or something, saying that the Third World War has already started.
Okay.
So one can only assume they didn't enlarge on that. That all these things that she quoted were just one sentences, and so I've got it down now in the future weeks to look into it and get back, because I want that knowledge, that information, and so I can only assume at the moment that it's Israel and Russia, you know, with I still got. I want to hear a different side of the story. I still, you know, if we go back years, Don, we probably mentioned it in our discussion that Russia was going to go and destroy the underground chemical laboratories in the Ukraine. Remember? And that was its purpose of doing that, and they were all foreign chemical companies. Okay, and as it had turned out during the war, that a lot of those were underneath towering buildings and underneath hospitals and places like that.
Well, were they like factories? Were they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, you know, it's so difficult to have an objective viewpoint without having the legitimate facts.
So what do you think their purpose was, or is?
Russia's purpose?
No, these chemical factories.
Oh, yeah. They to make chemicals for warfare of a very dangerous nature. So, because I think atomic bombs won't work in the future, and well, not that they won't explode, but they just won't achieve what, you know. Let's say, let's assume that the virus that was around a few years ago, you know, if that was a poison of a major magnitude, it would have really, really done its job big time by killing.
I suppose with any sort of warfare these days, I mean, it's, you know, like nuclear weapons, for example. I mean, they pretty much make the land uninhabitable, don't they? You know, so I guess, you know, I mean, I don't know, because I don't even turn my mind to those sort of things. But I guess if someone was of a mind to attack, you think that they would want to attack in such a way that it neutralized it, so that they could just invade it and then access all of the resources there, you would think. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know how those people think, you know. So
Yeah. I think part and parcel of it. I don't want to pollute your mind with all this rubbish that interests me, but but I you know, I think probably part of the plan is again what we've said in the past, is the financial system. And yeah. Now it's out in the open that China's having a big issue, because a lot of very powerful companies and very, very prosperous companies are pulling out of China. And so I don't know what effect that's going to have. You know,
it sort of does raise the question that some of these corporations are sort of almost like nations in their own right, aren't they? You know, they don't seem to.
Absolutely are.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of little bits that seem to be falling off the boat all over the planet at the moment. And another terminology that I haven't heard for a long time as well, and maybe you and I have mentioned it occasionally, I'm not sure, and that's the term black hats. You know.
Well, that came out of a management theory, didn't it? The black hats.
Yeah.
I think there was, well, I guess for the want of a better word, like a personality assessment tool or something, which characterised people according to, you know, white hats and green hats and yellow hats and black hats. You know?
Yeah. So what you've been thinking about? Anything more about your way ahead as we enter 2024, which is year 6, 7, 8, is it? Yeah.
I've had a couple of chats to one of my sons, just about, things that we might do together and that sort of thing. And just sort of brainstorming ideas and that, I mean, one thing about the age in which we live now is there are many, many things that are now possible, which would have just been a pipe dream not that many years ago, that's for sure, So, and with the advent of AI, it's an interesting time because, a few years ago, like, with the internet and Google in particular, we had access to pretty much unlimited amounts of information, but making sense of that information was always difficult. But I guess what AI has done or is doing is enables you to more efficiently, perhaps, make sense of the masses of information which are available. But as you've already pointed out, even tonight, like, you kind of wonder what drives the information that it delivers up, because it's kind of fascinating on the one hand when you sort of say delivered up opinions rather than facts, so. And I wonder how often that occurs. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's sort of interesting because one of the things I'm listening to on a podcast at the moment is about how to interpret the letters in the Bible. And a lot of the scholars talk about categorization of statements. So they might say, oh, well, this statement is a command, this statement is a prohibition, this statement is, a question, this statement is a, and I kind of wonder, like, musing out loud right now, you kind of wonder, well, I wonder what sort of instructions the AI, if there are any, follows in terms of how it delivers that information up. Does it deliver it up as an absolute, or does it deliver it up as one option in many, or what guides it, so.
Yeah, I don't know if you've, because I know you've experimented with ChatGPT. Do you know at the sort of like on the bottom on the left hand of the ChatGPT screen, you can click like settings, and
okay, yeah,
and you go in there and you can leave basic instructions, and also there's some boxes to tick whether you want straight factual or whether you want it a little bit more lighthearted, or
okay, I didn't know that. There you go.
Yeah.
So I wonder what the default settings are then.
Well, yeah, and it also, maybe I should just call it up now. It'll be easier. And let me show you. How do we minimize this Skype? I want to get to my.
I think you have to sort of share your screen or something, don't you? Or I don't know.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if I've got the recording, add participants, translate captions.
Share screen should be down on the right-hand bottom corner.
Yeah, I see there's a chat. What is that about? Anyway.
Well, that's just like a messenger type thing.
Yeah. Okay. Let me. Just press share screen. It's not bringing up my. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see. What's that? All your emails or something? Yeah. Gmail.
Okay. All right. That's fat. Okay. There
we
go.
Chat.
And let me just take that off. See at the bottom, if I click my name, okay, you've got there my plan, my GPTs, custom instructions, settings, beta. Okay. I'm not sure, quite honestly, what my plan is. A long time since I've done this. Upgrade your plan when you want to. I've cancelled my subscription now. My GPTs, I don't know what those are. Let me just see what my GPTs are. Recently used, made OpenAI, data analysis, and files, analyze, visualize your data.
So those pictures that you sent me, were they done through here, or?
Yeah, well, not through this. What it was done with, I used, I think, I forget what the name is. It's a Microsoft AI creator, okay, and then you instruct it with a lot of words to create an image based on those words that you put in, okay. And so I create my sentences first, and then I look at the sentence and say, okay, there's a fork in the road in the sentence. Maybe I'll instruct it to create an image in the mountains with a fork in the road and clouds, for example, and then it produces 4 options, and you choose one, and then you can now take that and customize it. So that you then customize it, then you can download it once it's customized. And so, yeah, that's, you sort of see, this is customer instructions. What would you like ChatGPT to know about you to provide better responses? There you are, okay? So I've said I'm 74 years old, I research and I write, and I do get set up classes. Any help with creating and presenting the classes would be welcomed, okay? And then I said at the bottom there, I need ChatGPT to occasionally make suggestions about the latest way to generate income, keeping in mind my age and work from home. Now, he's never done any of that. That's never come up in thing, but the other stuff has, okay? So now it will take that and work with it. That's the instructions I was talking about. And then settings, okay, that's just the light settings and things like that.
Okay, yep.
And then log out. So yeah, that's what I wanted to show you. So you can fiddle with that and experiment with it,
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's quite remarkable technology in many respects, isn't it? It really is.
Well, we're living in a very, very exciting world as far as advancement in technology is concerned. It really is. So tell me, what have you and your son been talking about as far as?
We've been talking about just setting up like a website that uses affiliate links, to generate passive income, things like that. So, but I mean, we've got a few ideas in terms of how it might, what sort of focus it might have. But I mean, I think that the conclusion that we've sort of both come to after discussing it, for quite a while now, is just that we just need to start.
You and I have always said that.
Just need to start and evolve it that way. Otherwise, it becomes this sort of potential paralysis of trying to solve the problem by thinking rather than by doing. So.
Yeah. The one thing that I put out on one of these images, I'm not sure. I create them every day during Advent. Okay.
Okay. Yep. Nice.
Yeah. And I send them to various people only on WhatsApp. Okay.
Yep.
And one of them was, I think it's quite a recent one. That purpose. Your purpose is a journey, okay? It's not a destination. It's not an activity. It's not something you can set goals for and so on. We sort of alluded to it last week as well. So I think for me, that was an aha wake-up realization.
Yeah.
Because so often we say, well, my purpose is to get set up classes, for example. Okay, or my purpose is to do woodwork or do repairs or something. Okay, so yeah, it's far more. What's the right word? Far more. Help me.
Experiential.
It's not an activity. Your purpose is not an activity.
No.
It might result in activities. Okay. But if your purpose is to maybe recondition furniture, okay, then it's reconditioned furniture. Then come in, maybe you've got goals to go into second-hand shops and buy up furniture to recondition it, and you say you've got a whole lot of activities, trying to use your background as a knowledge, but yeah. So I've said probably maybe even since last week when we chatted, I've just said that my purpose is to research and create. Okay, not the what. Okay.
Yeah.
So so now what I do is I go forward. I get started. Okay. An example, a recent example now is I've always been a subscriber of Birthday Alarm. It's an app that's been around a long time, and it reminds me when birthdays are and gives you options of a whole lot of cards you can send to people and so on. Okay. So the day before yesterday, I cancelled my subscription. I probably had it for about 15 years.
Wow.
And I cancelled it. And I said, right, now what is going on? I hit my keyboard there. Now I'm going to, and I've done my first one today. Okay. I downloaded everybody's birthdays that were on my birthday alarm. Okay. And a birthday came up today. Somebody, an old school friend of mine that we're in regular contact with in South Africa. And I then did what I did with the advert, like the ones a couple I sent you. I created an image, okay, and then I wrote a little something to go like a subtitle type things. He turned 75 today, and so it said whatever I said. Okay, 75 years old, and then I wrote something about what's happened in the last 75 years. Okay, how things have really, you and I were mentioning it a moment ago, how things have evolved. Okay,
yeah.
So now I'm going to do that with each person's birthday. I'm going to find in my head a relative instruction to give the AI to create the picture image. Okay, and
it's an old thing done in a new way, isn't it? It's basically like the handwritten note, but just done in using new technology.
And a drawing and using technology, and you can also apply humor. Like this morning, I applied humor. I mean, for example, this guy's his nickname has always been, since school days, Bushpig.
Right.
That's his name. Everybody calls him Bushpig. Okay, and always has. Okay, except his new wife, and so yeah. So I created a Bushpig eating at a table with cake, and on the cake was 75 years old, or 75. using that humorous, and he loved it to bits. Okay, I sent it to him, and he enjoyed it. So yeah, so I'm moving forward with a purpose. Okay, with sort of researching, and maybe researching, learning, and creating. Okay.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
So so yeah. So I think, I've been saying to you for weeks and weeks, or maybe months, I've been struggling to find my purpose. But I never really defined what purpose was, like I have. Yeah.
I think it's an important thing. I suppose, like as you and I've said, probably a million times over, is the most important thing is asking the right questions, isn't it? And maybe purpose is one of those things that if you can still ask why, then you probably still haven't arrived at the definition, So
Yeah. See, if you continue using my example, it's not. It's So you say, what do you enjoy doing? Okay. Now, whether I'm reading a magazine in bed in the morning, which found some quite fascinating magazines printed here in Australia, or whether I'm on the computer learning about AI and finding ideas and thoughts behind the AI. I don't know, we'll see. But yesterday I did a Get Set Up class on how to grow microgreens for health. Now, it's one of my oldest classes.
Yeah, it was one of the first ones you did, I think, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah, absolutely right. And they asked me to redo it live. Okay, so I did it, and I'm not actually sure how many people turned up, because it's difficult for me to see how many. I can see how many in the class, but most of the people stay in what they call the lounge. In other words, they watch without participating. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, booked. There were 100 booked.
Wow.
I've never in my life at Get Set Up had 100 booked. Okay. The most I've had is around 40 or 50, and usually there's 20 or 30 booked. Okay. But anyway, I'm telling you this because this morning I woke up and somebody had gone to my website that had been in the class, okay, seen the place on the front page where they could ask a question, and then asked me a question, told me that she was in the class, and told me what disease she had, and she said, can I recommend which microgreen she can concentrate, okay? So I researched the disease, which is inflammation of the brain, okay, and came up with the need for, because there's such a strong link between the immune system and the brain, and researched certain chemicals. Well, let's call them the vitamins and minerals that are needed for the process, for that link between the two. Asked ChatGPT to put it into some sort of format, which it did very nicely, and then I replied to her by email with what I had researched and got. Now, that that pleased me that I could do that. Okay, and it's my type of thing. And I think because I'd already set up the website earlier this year, there was something that was waiting to happen. And I think that, again, it's just something that's happened without any effort of mine.
The other thing that I've sort of been exercising my mind a little bit of late too, mainly because it's sort of part of a piece of study I'm doing.
Yeah.
Is to step out of your own perspective, because I think we're pretty much hardwired or conditioned to think about things from our perspective, so which is not a surprising thing. But one of these exercises I'm doing at the moment, poses the question is like, so if you were to look at the world, like the surface of the bubble part of the world, so to speak, from the viewpoint of the Trinity, what do you think you would see? And how do you think you would feel? And and I found it quite challenging.
Okay.
Because I think the human condition is that we get so strongly influenced by emotions and emotional responses and things like that, which immediately almost hijacks your thinking, doesn't it? But if you could just see things as they were, without judgment, I sort of find it, well, an incredibly useful process.
Right.
But it also then raises all those questions about, well, if I try and genuinely have that perspective, for the sake of having the perspective, what does it mean? Which is immediately trying to impose a personal view. So it's been a fascinating exercise, and I'm still only like just into it, so I can't really share too much about or conclusions or ideas even about it. But I just found it really, really fascinating, because quite often like spiritual practices and that, they're all geared around your perspective, or trying to change your perspective or add to your perspective or subtract from your perspective. But this is an invitation to step outside of your perspective altogether.
Right. Difficult.
Very difficult. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very difficult. I mean, a lot of the exercises before this, like even before I got to this stage of it, had been invitations to, through your imagination, place yourself in some of those scriptural stories, like, well, I mean, this time of year, for example, is like the birth of Christ, well, imagine you were one of the shepherds, looking through one of the shepherd's eyes, what do you think you would see? What do you think you'd be feeling? What do you think, it's, really, really quite different. So, yeah.
Okay.
But as I said, I don't have any conclusions or, like some of the spiritual practices like that you and I probably.
Sorry, John. There's somebody at my back door, and the dog's going berserk. Can you
Okay.
freeze
sure.
for a minute?
Yeah, sure.
I am expecting a Woolworths delivery, but it's early if it's coming now. Yeah, John, it is me. Can we call it a day?
Yeah, sure. No problem.
Okay, it is Woolworths. I've got to check in out of this stuff.
Okay, see you now.